have a pretty little piece of it. Like Tania said, I am a writer and I read from paper, so.
Get it.
But anyhow, I'm Byron Aspaas from Navajo, from Farmington area, around that area. That's where I grew up. So a lot of my writing involves nonfiction. As far as nonfiction, I write about a lot of my trials and errors of growing up. I was also affected by the coal company and power plants and all of that. So that's how my writing resonated with the physical destruction that happened around me growing up. So one thing I am going to start off with is the coyote story. During the winter time, we get to tell coyote stories, so this is what I wrote. So it's actually a poem. So it's called Dreamcatcher. When teacher asked her students to draw themselves, coy little coyote knew who he was. He knew what to do, scrambling through his most colorful crayons. Coyote envisioned powerful shades of popping pinks, blended with blues, radiant rays of grays, Navajo whites infused with fuchsia. Rainbows, lots of rainbows, fabulous rainbows, he yelped. Bold, beautiful colors reflected in his hungry, wide eyes, designing his plaid and rad drag, layered in queer deerskin, trimmed with beautiful flowing feathers. His dress streamed head to toe, waist of turquoise, as blue as the river trickling down on the ground, winding along his arms, streaming across his chest, coiling down his thighs, reaching the palm of his paws, weaving into the earth, grounding him. He will become great. The people will love him. The people will rejoice. The people will call him holy. The people will call him a healer. They will call him Nable. Everyone has a dream, even coy little coyote. This one's called Waiting for a Car to Drive by. Most Navajos have taboos, as we all know. When the coyote crosses their path, they go over to the side to kind of let the next two cars wipe off whatever he's leaving. So this one was just popped out of nowhere. Waiting for a car to drive by. Coyote's frazzled little tail. Coyote's frazzled tail sways nervously, chasing dust bunnies through the deserted dirt on the linoleum floor, waiting for the MD or PhD at the IHS, and his heart beats rhythms like the IV that drips drop by drop down the hall in a nearby room where he waits for free rations given to him by the government because his mom is a full-blooded, unfortunate coyote watches young Indian children run in circles, chasing imaginary tails underneath the safe sex get tested poster. And he sees the dry spots on their cheeks, connected by smeared snot trails that slither from one cave to another, while mom sits watching Dr. Oz on an iPad that connects her eyes to her hands, connects her hands to her ears, connects her smartphone to the world when it vibrates and reverberates sound through the quiet waiting room. Jumpy coyote looks to the ground, shaking the Tutadine bag in his paw, watching little shadows dance in circles around him as he waits for a sign to move forward. Those two poems I wrote my freshman year when I went back to school. I went back to school at 33. So I started to develop lyricism within my writing, and I really liked nonfiction. One thing I did lose, one thing I never did was write about my dad or write about me, so I wrote this story. I was a nanny for some kids a while back ago, and it kind of prompted my thesis that I'm writing right now for my grad program. And this is just a glimpse of what I'm writing right now. So, Jonah, the son. Phil is sitting in the back of my small accent Hyundai. He is the youngest one of the 4 kids I take care of in Colorado Springs. His hair is orange like 7. I want to be like that. He is 71. I want to live just as long. Seth sits behind me while Finno continues to watch the desert sky appear from behind the eastern horizon. Off in the distance, you can see the purple hawkbacks and white peaks of the Bethenshab, the Hespers Mountains. Is that sleeping you? It looks like a woman, Finno blurts out. Yes, I say. Wow, we beat the sun. It's not even up yet. You know, the Navajos say you should be up before the sun, Finno. I tell him while looking through the rearview mirror. His freckled face turns towards the front of the car, away from the view of the eastern sky. Why, he asks. Because they say if you sleep while the sun rises, he will put Aichon inside the crevices of your eyelids, by your nose, telling you he was there. Is that what it's called? Seth looks at him and says, yes, that gooey stuff in your eyes is called Aichon. I tell Finno, they say you should run to the east every morning to greet the sun. His forehead scrunches in confusion, his eyes squint, looking as violet as the disappearing night in the western sky. Remember when I told you about the old volcano that I lived near? Yes, he replies. I point to the western horizon where the sky is still dark and covered with stars. Beyond my pointer finger is the faint shadow of the volcanic throat known as Tebatah, the rock with wings. Beyond the monolithic figure is the backdrop of the Arizona mountains. Both the beautiful mountain and Carrizo mountains are the background settings to the lands where I grew up. The glittery lights of the town sparkle and flicker as we turn north. My dad sits quietly next to me. He doesn't say much when his hometown shiprock comes into view. This is where my dad is from, I yell to the back. The sun has not broken the crest of the eastern skyline, and yet it is bright enough to see the shapes of each house that passes. I point to the small community of white houses that dot the entrance of the reservation ground. Each house is cubed like adobe homes, but painted white with brown trimming. I point to the east. This is where my mom and dad lived, inside those houses, years ago. Finno's eyes reflect in bewilderment. I can only imagine what is running through his mind because this is his first trip outside of Colorado Springs without his mom. It is his first trip outside of Colorado altogether. It is his first trip to the New Mexico desert. Before our trip, I told him about my people and the differences in rocks and explained how I grew up. Is this the desert sin you talked about? Can you hunt for volcano rocks? He is 8 years old. The skin is pale on his face. Upon each cheek are freckles splashed across the peak of his nose. The freckles remind me of the night sky where the Milky Way becomes mixed with chocolate, creating a constellation of unique brown designs. With each smile, the designs change. Sometimes I tell him I want to play connect the dots. He giggles and tries to run away from me, but I yell up to the sky and wrap him around him, wrap my arms around him, saying, quick, someone grab me a pin. His arms are sun-kissed from yesterday's drive through the desert landscape. Seth and I witnessed the change as his pale skin turned bright pink. Yesterday, miles south of Raton, we stopped on the side of I-25 to lather him up with 100 SPF sunscreen. I laughed when I rubbed lotion on his arms because he once called me a redskin. I tried to correct him, but it didn't work because it would slip through his lips again and again. He eventually stopped, but still it bothered me. When I was putting the sunscreen on his colored skin, I giggled, who's the redskin now? Today, his skin is back to normal and pinkish white. His nose is slightly chapped. It will probably flake like the dry skin of a growing snake. We instruct him to drink water throughout the day so he won't dry out. The skyline begins to turn yellow rather than the crescent orange of the morning. The time is now 5:41 a.m. and the stream It does not take us long to get through to the beginning of the line. We find an easier entrance to the buses when the Hyundai rolls to a stop. Seth opens the door from behind me and stands near the driver's door. I place the number 247 on my chest with the safety pins given. The chill of the morning touches my ears and the shiver slivers down my spine while I reach for the driver's door handle. The dome light turns on, exposing me and Dad and Finno to the people walking nearby. I take my first step out of the car. Seth whispers, "Good luck, baby." Jonette, the sun rises in the east and the stars slowly dip into the west, where darkness awaits. Our little bodies align and march into a bus for an education at the local boarding school. The road laid before us is dark and windy, bumpy and narrow, into a horizon unknown. As the bus glides along the road, dip by dip, turn by turn, each child's head bops with each bump and sways with each turn. The bus is yellow, old, and tired. It stops at the old sandstone building where stars are etched into the sides of its walls, signs of its age and decrepit history. The smell of dehydrated eggs fill the air with hints of bacon. I only eat the hash browns with gravy. Each day, each meal, same time, same place. It's not hard to swallow with each bite. Imprinted and molded, we trail one by one, like ducks we follow the leader. Perhaps out of trust, perhaps out of fear, we are the manufactured product of the Federal Relocation Education Program. Jonette, watch over us. Just last month, so it's out there. So it's part of what I'm trying to do. I'm running a marathon.
Oh, nice.
So getting ready to go, and so the whole memoirs are around me at each stop, reflecting as a child, because these kids evoke so much memory of me growing up that I forgot myself because I forgot being a kid. So this is my last piece here. Yesterday was my mom's birthday. She would have been 71, and I lost her 4 years ago. So this piece is, it was a Facebook post that I kind of turned into a little poem, I guess. It's lyrical. But yeah, we don't have Safeway in Santa Fe when I lived there. So this is something that I wrote. Shema, 3 years ago, I struggled with the notion of not seeing you when I got that phone call early in the morning saying you left on your journey into the next world. It was months after that I understood you could only visit me through dreams, like Aaron used to comfort me after he went on the same path you had just begun. It was months later when I realized I could not jump into the small yellow car and drive 3 hours over the New Mexico brown desert like corn pollen and float over the Cabazon, then skim past the Continental Divide and fly nearby Ziznavadizhi, only to hear you scream, "Sunny boy," and surprise you with my hugs. This summer, while I was in Boulder for school, I walked to the Safeway grocery store. It reminded me of the one in Farmington, the one you visited frequently with Dad, only to get small things like potato meat and pop and rainbow bread. Inside the Safeway, I took my time. I walked through each aisle and stared at each item, only because Santa Fe had no Safeway. Santa Fe had no Safeway. Why? Finally, when I finished walking around, I went to pay for what small items I had, and the store clerk asked me for a club card, and I looked at him strangely and immediately pushed numbers of our old phone number, the one we had years ago, staring at the long paper, and the store clerk asked me if everything was okay. I stood there in the aisle, looking into his blue eyes that looked into my brown eyes, where they looked upon the receipt, and finally I replied, yes. There at the bottom of the paper was you, Shema. You appeared a name. Throughout the entire month, I walked a half mile to the store and a half mile back with a smile stamped